So, our guest today is a gentleman that wears multiple hats these days. He now currently drives the number 67 IMCA Race Saver 305, Mr. Evan Hendrickson. How are you doing, Evan?
Not too bad yourself, Nathan.
Doing great, doing great. Keeping busy, kind of like yourself. I'm sure it might be a contest on who's wearing more hats these days between the two of us.
Yeah. Seems like we're both pretty busy here, especially during the racing season.
Yeah, and it seems like it's kind of just getting started, and like we're not quite into June, but pretty dang close. But boy, it's like once everything gets going, it's all guns a blazing.
Oh yeah, it's the all gas, no brakes here, that's for sure.
Now, before I get into that, like the first couple of questions I was going to ask you, because you're currently in a truck. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking you're at like a certain track, but where are you actually right now?
At the moment, here I'll roll the window down and show all you guys. I'm over at the Buffalo River Speedway, giving Berg and the Haugeberg boys some help on the track prep for this following weekend. Just laid down some water, and we're I guess packing the racetrack at the moment because all these other tires, I guess they had too much tread and they were kind of digging it up and making it feeling the racetrack. So I'm out here with the dually, and I guess I'm doing the final touches. I'm packing it in, and we got a sprint car out here that guy might do some laps in, and I guess we'll see if that ever happens. But at the moment, I guess I'm just working on the racetrack at Buffalo River Speedway.
There you go. So, I mean, you're just coming off a busy, busy day, probably down at the Cheyenne Speedway on Monday. So, and
Yes.
that's just one of the hats you wear. So, I guess, are you now like a track prep expert these days?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. I guess there's still a whole lot to learn. We had quite a bit of water on the racetrack last Monday night, and it kind of it I guess it all in the end, I guess it all worked out. I think people were happy down there. We had a good turnout, and I think if we would have started off with a little bit less water, we could have got the track to roll in there. Not, I guess if we could have maybe milked it and started a little bit later, it would have been better racing. But I guess then again, it was our first time ever doing track prep for a main event. And I think it all worked out. So I would definitely say we're not experts yet, but I guess I'm out here, I guess, learning some stuff from Berg and trying to get better for each week.
Well, that's the thing too. I think a lot of people probably, I hope they have the understanding too. That's like a whole new crew running the Cheyenne Speedway, and a lot of you folks are in kind of different roles that you probably have never been in before. So to pull off an
Yep.
opening night like that with 100 plus cars is no small feat.
No, not at all. And then again, like you said, just I guess got to bear with us here these maybe first couple weeks, but we'll have it dialed in here pretty soon. And I think we'll have some really good racing on Thursday nights here coming up really shortly.
Absolutely. Well, if you're watching out there and have a question or want to say hi to Evan, feel free to drop it in the comments below. We already have a question from Lindsay Hansen. Great question,
Alrighty.
Lindsay. He's wondering if that's a Calvin Kesselberg mustache you got going on there.
Yeah, I guess we're both rocking one this summer. Actually, it's kind of funny. My mom and my sister absolutely hate it, and it's one of the reasons why I'm running it. But I told them I'm going to keep the mustache until I win a feature race, and that's the only that I won't shave it until I win a race. So I guess they're hoping I win one here pretty soon.
Alrighty. Got to keep
Yeah,
some fun
it's
in
kind of
racing too.
I guess not a game, but I don't know. There'll be a reason for me to get rid of it. It's kind of just I don't know, get on their nerves a little bit. You gotta have a little fun like that with the family every once in a while.
Yep, you got to keep them loose and keep them, I guess, keep them on their toes, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and so I guess before like I get into the racing aspect of it, since it's kind of fresh on our minds with Cheyenne Speedway, did you have like an inkling or like an indication that this was something you and your family were going to kind of partake in heading into the season?
Not at all. I guess we heard. I don't know the full details of it, but I don't know if the lease was getting up or if Vickers wanted to get rid of it for the summer. And we had a good family friend, Myron Shocker. His boys are running a limited late model this year, and he goes, you know what? I really think if we wanted to, we could make this happen. And I guess we signed the papers, and it's in our names now. And I guess that's kind of how it all worked out. And I'm excited to see what the future holds, and it's definitely keeping us busy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was telling our guest last week from Wisconsin because he also helps promote a racetrack. I feel like everyone should try to like spend a week out there promoting a track or running a racetrack because it's probably pretty eye opening from what you've seen so far.
It really is, and I mean, I don't know the whole gist of it, but there's so much behind the scenes that people, just race fans and people coming to the track to race, don't see what happens. It's like, I mean, just the insurance and the liquor license, and it's not all just track prep and running the races. There's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, and things like what are you gonna have for food and beverages and all that, and it's like all
Yeah.
those little details. It's like I'm just worried about the racing. It's like, oh yeah, I need to eat and drink at some point too.
Exactly. Well, I guess we didn't, or I guess we expected a higher car counter just fan wise for the opening night being the Memorial Day special, but we actually ran out of food like three different times, and we had my sister and her friends running in and out of town, grabbing more burgers, more taco and bag supplies, more hot dogs. Even we ran out of beer there for a while, and we had to run into the gas station and get a couple more cases. So I guess that's not a bad sign, but we know to be more prepared with having more inventory for the next race for sure.
Yep, and it just takes experience and kind of like, all right, well, we'll adjust that for the next time we have a race.
Yep, exactly. Yep, you live and learn, and note it down, and just be more prepared for the next time, I guess.
I want to say hi to Hunter Carter checking in as well as Spencer Hupel. Thanks for checking in, guys. And absolutely not, Lindsay. I'm not getting a mustache. Not a fan of them. I mean, I could
I think
probably
you can
kind
pull
of.
it off, Mason.
No, it would
No.
look weird on me.
Well, I guess that's what I thought, and then I didn't end up shaving it. And now it's stuck until I win because I guess like I said, my mom absolutely hates the thing, so it's kind of just a funny deal.
Well, you looked pretty dang good last Friday at the Red River Valley Speedway in a new class this year. Oh, hey,
Look at
got a
this
sprint,
guy
got a sprint car in the track there.
helping us pack her in.
There
Need
you
some big
go.
wide tires.
Yeah, those are packing a little bit nicer with the wider tires.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, talk about
Doesn't
the sprint car a little bit, because Spencer's got a question for you. But what made you decide to jump behind the wheel of a Race Saver 305 after spending the last few years in a Legend?
I guess we ran the Legend there for 3 years. The 1 year in the Lamar's family's car, and one or the two on our own. And I guess I still really do enjoy the class, and I kind of miss it. It'll always be a part of how I started racing out on big tracks. And I think we just kind of didn't, I wouldn't say prove, but we got a couple of track championships, and then after the nationals, I just wanted to move up, I guess you could say, or just see what I could do in a different race class. And I'm not saying I'm done completely. I might hop in a car every once in a while. I think the 305s, or even that, just as a little kid, I always wanted to drive a sprint car, and it ended up happening with the deal that we got. And I mean, I guess, like, I don't know, it happened, and I'm glad it did, and I'm excited to see what we could do in the sprint car.
Yeah, like I said, that heat race, you looked pretty dang fast. And I was like, oh boy, Evan might pull off his first win here on like the second night out.
I surprised myself, and you know what's cool about the sprint cars? Like, this year, I'm taking it as a learning year. I'm not setting any expectations for myself. Obviously, I want to do good. The heat race win was awesome. Rolled window down real quick. It's getting a little warm, but like, then again, just every week I'm gonna go and try new things with the setup, and just just take it as a learning year, and not having those expectations. It's really stress free. Just go and have fun with it. And I mean, I'm sure progress will happen over time, and we'll get better and better. Just while we're having fun. It's not like in the Legend. I knew I had the car that was, I had the ability to win every night, and I had the car. And you say you end up running eighth or ninth, it really kind of it hurts when you know that you have the potential to win. But then again, the sprint car, there's no expectation. Just go out there, have fun, and the wins will start piling up here eventually. I'm sure it might take a year or two, but I'm just gonna have fun learning and working at it, I guess.
Yeah, I was looking at my race pass. So you got two races on the year. The first one at Houston. So way to jump in the deep end.
Yeah, right away. And I was not expecting. I've been there once before, but I kind of totally forgot that you have to run for 305s. They all have to pit in the infield. And if you, all those 305 guys, they have those mules, those pit carts with their toolbox in the rear end. So we get there and we're pitted on where all the 410 guys were. And then next thing you know, the guy comes, hey, you got to get in the infield. There's one spot left. So we had the car, the four-wheeler, an air bomb, and an air gauge. Just all the tools we had all night long. And luckily, we ended up pitting next to Jason Burks. We had a couple of his tools that we could use when needed. But my dad said the next time we go there, either we need to figure out a way to get a moving cart or just be more prepared for the whole school aspect of the deal.
Yeah, Houston is a different setup than a lot of other tracks with them pitting in the
It
infield
really
like
is.
that. So,
Yeah.
Spencer's question. So you've been down to Houston. Do you have any big races on the schedule for 2025?
No, we don't really have a set schedule. We're gonna try and run Fargo every Friday night, as long as Sundays in Glendon when they're on, and when there's not lightning sprints here, and then kind of just go and, like I said, just have fun and race when we want to, and try and do the track points around here. But we don't have any set big race on the schedule or anything like that. I guess the biggest race might be this week, and the Danny Schatz Memorial with the $1,500 on the line, and See what we can do there on Saturday night. That'll be cool running with the Outlaws.
Yeah, and like last week for the Friday night show, there was 17 of Race Savers 305. So I'm expecting probably in that mid 20s to almost 30 at that rate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I do remember last year, I think they had to run a B main. So a lot of those guys from the Hartford area or the Houston area down in South Dakota, they'll come and run. I think obviously the money's a factor, but being able to run or pit with the Outlaws is really cool too. I'm sure that'll bring a couple more cars for next weekend.
Yeah, and you are pretty close friends with like the Eisenshanks. I know you pit next to them, kind of hang out in their shops, so I'm sure they've been a big help to you as well starting out.
100%. Yeah. I mean, anytime I have a question about setup or, I mean, just anything in general, if they have an extra part, I can call up Zach Axel. He's been a really good help. And obviously the Shots family just with everything. And I guess help or giving us advice with the car. And yeah, I can't say enough but to thank them.
Now, Lindsay, your question or your comment on the foot race pole dash for the redraw, is that for Cheyenne Speedway? Is that what you're referring to, or because that'd be interesting to see a foot race pole dash for the redraw with a lot of the drivers.
Say if you were to take the top 6 guys from the heat races and then have them do a foot race to see where they line up for the feature, I like that idea.
Yeah, I think you just challenged Jory Berg in the chat for a speed walk pole dash.
I got you. I think they did something like that in, I believe it was Mandan for the Legendary Tour, but I think all the drivers had to wear high heels actually for the redraw.
Oh, okay. Yep, that would make sense. I believe that is the case.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I guess
So,
we could switch it up and yeah, then again, just have fun with it and just see. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll have to maybe think something to do like that.
hey, now that you kind of get the reins of being promoted, you can kind of do some of that fun stuff that you maybe always wanted to
Exactly.
try.
Yeah, 100%. I think yeah. Then again, like you said, with us being in charge, if you have an idea, you can give it a shot. If it works, it works, and if not, I mean, it doesn't. I guess you don't know until you know.
Well, and one of the other aspects or one of the hats you wear, I believe you're also involved with the kart club. Are you still flagging out there?
Yeah, me actually, Bryce Helgeberg, he's behind me in another tow truck back in the racetrack. The opening night was last night, and I'm the head flagman, and he's sitting there in the flag stand with me, counting laps and handing me flags. So it's me and Bryce are out there flagging along with Tyler Matz and his son Connor Matz are the guys that are flagging this year out at the kart track.
Boy, so you go from running, helping pack the track in on Monday at Cheyenne. You're flagging at the Red River Kart Club on Tuesday, and now you're packing the track Wednesday night at Buffalo River, getting all set for another weekend of racing, whatever it may be. I said,
Yes.
I don't know who's wearing more hats, you or me.
Yeah, I mean, you're running around taking videos and pictures everywhere, but I mean, yeah, I think just like a lot of guys, you're happiest at the racetrack, and I know a lot of people they'll invite me to go out and do something like, no, I'm gonna go to the racetrack, and that's just I guess part of our lives are how it's in our blood, almost you could say.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you answer yes to one instance, and then you kind of just like, I could get used to this, and then you kind of just get roped into other duties, and so you kind of just see where the wind takes you from that point.
Exactly. Like I knew we were coming out here for the night, and I didn't know what was on the agenda, and I guess now I'm in a truck, packing the racetrack. So you just never know. As long as you're at one, you'll find something to do. That's for sure.
Yeah, and kind of getting back to the racing a little bit with the sprint car, what would you say was the biggest learning curve for the first couple of races or practice laps that you took in that thing?
I would say the biggest learning curve, there's a couple. So one, the legend cars, they don't have power steering like the sprint cars do. So just being a lot more smooth on the wheel, entering the corner, just all the way throughout it. If you have a good sprint car and it's set up correctly, it's almost like the car drives itself. You want to keep the steering wheel as straight as possible. And then you're not scrubbing speed and you're making fast lap times. And the other thing is just the wing in general. It's especially in Fargo or some of the bigger race tracks, you get that wing speed, and as soon as it hits that left side board, you can feel the whole car shift and the wind. I guess you call it winged over is I think the technical term for it, but just how the wing affects the race car compared to like the Legend or some of the sport mods I've driven in the past. It's crazy. And then the Legend cars, they have so much torque and low weight, so they're so you have to be really really smooth on the throttle. And these things, it's the more gas you give it, the happier the race car is. It seems like.
Okay, wow. So you've been learning quite a bit to start things off.
Yeah, for sure. It's I guess I got a little bit of advice from Wilkie. Told me that as long with the girls, they said just mash the gas and use the brake when needed, and the car's happy on the gas pedal. So that was different to get used to for sure.
Nice. Actually, Travis Wilkie is watching, so thanks, Travis, for tuning in. Got a bunch of people from out west tuning in, so
Yeah.
thank you guys all for watching. Looks like you got a car doing hot laps now?
Yep, Berg we're working on, I guess he wanted to make sure it's going to run right for this weekend. So he just got out there, and I don't know if he's going to go full throttle or, full hot lap mode here, if he's just trying to make sure it runs right, but he's on the racetrack and he's all geared up at the moment.
Yeah, and he's one of the new drivers in the division as well. So it's kind of cool to see that division kind of growing, and you're kind of part of that growth, kind of getting some newer drivers involved. And so I actually like this 305 class. It's because it's a good feeder series in case you ever want to get into a 410 now.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure a whole lot of it transfers over. It's the same size race car, and a lot of the principles do setup wise. It's just the power you'd have to get, or it would be different, I'm sure. But Berg's ripping out there.
Yeah, I just saw him go behind you. He's putting some lap times down now.
Yeah, here, I don't know if you can see it in the truck here, but I'll try and get a little bit with this forward-facing camera. Or front.
Yeah, there he goes.
There he goes, yep. That's good. Looks like it's running right, I guess. So. That's another thing with the 305s compared to like the Legend. The Legend, it's just the maintenance was so easy. And these are they're really picky on fueling wise, depending if it's hot or cold or humid or dry. Just you have to fuel the motors right for them to run correctly. So that's another thing you have to be on the lookout for.
So is that why they have to do like an engine heat or everything before the races start?
That isn't exactly. I guess the engine engine heat is just to keep heat in the motors. But I'm sure, yes, you can tell idling if it's going to be a little bit off. But that's another thing with the sprint car motors in general. You want them hot, or before you go out. You don't want to have a cold motor and step on the gas pedal. That can be hard on things.
Okay, yeah, I've always been curious on like their procedures, because it's like, all right, you got to get ready for the engine heat, then there's qualifying or hot laps, and so it's like it's a full blown like almost 2 times program for a sprint car.
It almost is, and I do enjoy having the hot laps. You just get to shake your car down a little bit before the heat race to know what to expect, unlike all the other classes. So that is a nice perk of running a sprint car for sure.
Is there a track that you probably checked off Huset's off the bucket list now, but is there a track now that you want to race in a sprint car that would be pretty cool for you?
Yeah, I really want to try running the Jackson Motorplex out in the southern end of Minnesota there. I think that would be a cool racetrack for sprint cars.
And is that a half-mile track? I know it's pretty
I
big.
believe it races like a half mile, but I think it might be considered a 3/8 mile because of how skinny it is. It's almost, but it does seem bigger than 8. I've been there a couple times to watch in person. But yeah, I would say it's I think it's considered a 3/8, but it races like a half mile.
Okay, yeah, that'd be really cool. I know they got some big races later on in the year as well.
Yeah, they have some good payouts every once in a while. I think on a weekly basis they pay $4,000 or $5,000 for the 410 races. So that's a pretty nice payout, I guess, for weekly running.
That's a good chunk of change. Makes the trip well worth it.
That's for sure.
Any desire to race? I don't know if they race 305s in Knoxville, but Knoxville interest you at all?
Yeah, 100%. I think any person would like to run at Knoxville. They run I think they call them outlaw sprint cars. It's like a 305, like they run out in Cedar Lake, but it's a different engine package, and I think they have just a little bit less horsepower than 305, so they don't allow them to run together.
Gotcha. Okay.
But they do, yeah. That class 360s and 410s on a weekly basis.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Oh, my sister checking in. Hi, Camion. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the call with Mason right now, and we got a bunch of viewers, and obviously they saw Berg ripping around in the background.
Okay. Yeah, you said he wants you to give it a rip.
Berg, I'm on the Mason Aaron talk show. You want to say hi to him?
Hello.
Here.
How's it going?
Good. Car working all right?
Yeah, it's a little greasy on the bottom. We're trying to practice on the high side and get used to that, and just need to get some laps in this thing.
Now, are you guys, when's the first race with the Race Saver 305s? Is it this weekend out in Buffalo River?
This Sunday night at Buffalo River, we have the Race Savers right after the Danny Schatz Memorial in Fargo on Saturday, so hopefully we get a few out-of-towners to stay around.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good weekend to kind of have them. So you should have a pretty good field of diverse drivers.
Yeah, it should be pretty good.
Are you liking the 305 so far? I know this is kind of your first stint at it. Are you getting used to it?
Yeah, we're starting to get used to it a little bit. I think I drove a little better this past weekend. Then I did the first night in Fargo. Sunday night was decent in Houston, and tonight we're just working on getting some laps. Gonna have Evan help and Bryce help change some stuff on the setup a little bit, and then we're gonna let Bryce get a few laps in it too, just so he can try transitioning a little bit from lightning sprints into the race savers.
Nice. Yeah, you're keeping them busy and out of trouble, so you're doing good work.
Yeah, we try to. We try to.
Yep. Yeah, I guess we got Bryce out here.
What's up?
Yep.
Hey, Bryce.
How's
it
going?
Are you gonna be nice to the competition here at Buffalo River Speedway in the Lightning Sprints here? Or are you gonna try to go 3 for 3?
He'll keep on dominating.
I'm gonna keep on going.
Yeah. Say you got until you got to beat the man. You got to beat the man.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see.
It's loose? Bring your right rear in.
Put either that or like the left row. We can jack it up and move the wheel space.
See, we can't get him dialed in here, I guess.
I say, yeah, getting some interesting setup advice. I wouldn't know where to start on setting up a sprint car.
See, and I don't really know anything yet either. That's part of the whole learning curve, is learning how these cars work and what changes do what. And like I said, every week we're gonna start, just trying different things, from shocks and moving spacing. And there's torsion bars. It's another difference from the coilovers on a legend car. You got bars that act as springs instead of the actual springs on shocks. So there's all sorts of differences from this class to the legends.
Makes me try to think of like what I'd try to adjust on like the 2002 World of Outlaws game to see if it translates over.
Yeah. And another thing that is cool, I know some people love it, some people hate it, is the game or simulation iRacing. You can go and make laps and try different things on there and see how it makes a difference on the game. And you can, and I mean, you wouldn't say it's 100% accurate, but some of that can correlate over to real life.
Well, that's at least good to kind of get a feel or an idea, so you can kind of, tweak a couple things, or if you have an idea, it's like, hey, let's just try this setup. It may not work, but at least we know.
Exactly. I think my biggest thing with that whole iRacing deal is the cars don't feel accurate to me in real life. I've only driven a few different types of race cars, but what I really do like about the iRacing is the actual racecraft that you can get from it, because everyone that you're racing, they're all real people, and say someone's throwing a slider on you, you know how to cross over, and just it's kind of, I wouldn't say muscle memory, but you just see it over and over and over. And I mean, you got a reset button, in case it doesn't work, you can just reset, try again, and take that into the real life. You just being around other cars and knowing the spacing and how big your car actually is when you're side by side with someone is something you can take from the game to real life.
Yeah, that is true. That is a good point. I remember when I was doing that, it was kind of good practice. Unfortunately, in real life, we don't get a reset button.
Exactly. No, you get a parts bill in a couple days in the shop sometimes.
Yeah, hopefully not too many trying to fix stuff up.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and that's another thing with us just getting into it. We have the car, and we've been the past couple of weeks trying to get a bunch of spare parts. Because you never know when you need them, and at the racetrack, if you wreck something, you want to be able to fix it. And right away, we just had the car and a couple tires, so now we're trying to get different rods and all sorts of different things and ways if you have spares.
Okay. Yeah, it's a whole ordeal with racing. It's like, it's not just the car. You got to have everything prepared for like worst case scenarios sometimes, or you come across a situation. It's like, well, we don't have that in our toolbox. What do we do now?
Exactly. Yep. And then for the next time you might want 3 of them or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. So just staying stocked up on spare parts is never a bad idea. We've learned that from go-karts and legends and just racing in general.
Well, while I got a second, and before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to thank your sponsors, pit crew, anyone that helps your racing program out.
Yeah, I would love to, first of all, thank my parents, my mother and father. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be doing any of this, and my dad for all of his great advice and helped me out in the shop getting cars ready since I've been just a little guy. And my Uncle Jade, he's always there calling me every day and supporting me and does everything he can at the racetrack for getting us ready and getting us out there. I'd like to thank Brentco for some of my sponsors. Can you still hear me with them ripping around here?
Yes.
I'm going to hop back in the truck real quick.
I heard a brief, roaring of the engine, but otherwise you're crystal clear.
Okay. I'm sure that's better now that I'm in the vehicle. Yeah, like I was saying, I like to thank Brentco in general, as long as SW&L attorneys. They've been a big help ever since I've been racing go-karts. The Bowler and Thunder Road, they actually got me started racing karts when I was just a little guy. As long as Clark's Excavating, Skalicki's Auto Repair, and Turf Tapers as well. Yeah. So I guess and then all my friends I got a lot of friends from school. They like to come out and enjoy the races and give me a hand. My buddies Skyler and Sam Zemer, Ashton, Ian, all those guys. They make it fun when all your friends are out in the pits helping you out. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool aspect of West Fargo. I know there's a lot of like young drivers like yourself, and they always bring in a group of fans, whether it's in the stands or in the pits. So I think that's a really cool
Exactly.
aspect.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. And it's nice saying you do get into trouble having a bunch of extra hands just to help with whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You can because there's never any shortage of help needed at the track.
No, not at all. Just a couple more minutes.
So one more question coming in from Jeremy Bloom from Wisconsin, and also a shout out to Brody Carlsrud saying Evan is the man.
Thanks, Brody. I appreciate it. Hey,
Congrats
nice
on the
win
win
last
again,
Friday. That
Brody.
was pretty awesome, dude.
Yeah, awesome win on Friday night. So they're racing. They're kind of practicing their 305s out in Glendon, Minnesota, Jeremy. But his question for you is, how many feature wins do you want, whether it's this year or kind of moving forward? I know we talked about some of your expectations earlier.
You know what? Yeah. Then again, with no expectations, I would be content without having one. But I think it'd be really cool to get one on my first year. So I'm gonna say I would say one feature win would make the summer for sure. And I mean, more would obviously be better. And if we don't get any, that's fine as well. Just keep on learning and getting better every time we hit the racetrack is what the main goal is here. So I would say, yeah, if we can get one feature win, that would be really cool this year.
Well, and I'm trying to think too. How long did it take for you to get your first win in the NX Legends? Because I don't think it took that long.
It actually, so that first year in Mason Lamar's car, that was a 1250 car, and we got robbed of, I think it might have been 3 feature wins our first year, and they were all mechanical years from. We led a couple races in Fargo, and when I almost got my first one, I think there was 2 to go. I know Wilkie was in second because we were duking it out there, and then I think we had an electrical gremlin, and I lost all my power, and then the second time we blew a rear end out. But as soon as we got into the 67 car, I think it was the second week in that car, we got a win, and then they started racking in here and there and getting better finishes. So I don't know how many wins we ended up getting, but it was a second year when I got my first one there in the Legend.
I was say I know it didn't take long once you got in the 67. I was like, oh dang, Evan's catching on quickly. So I don't think it'll take you long to catch on in the 305s either.
No, I hope not, and I don't know if I'm being humble, but like I said, just if we can get one, I would be happy with that. But then again, if you get more, that'd be awesome as well.
Absolutely. Well, want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule, almost busier than me at this point, and best of luck this weekend.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on there, Mason.
Absolutely. And you can follow his racing at Evan Hendrickson Racing on Facebook, race fans. So thanks, Evan, for the time, and catch you all next week for another interview.
Yeah, we'll see you.